Want your story spotlighted in one of my videos? Send it my way. astheravendreams.com/submit. The Leech by Blake Blizzard. I'm so excited for this trip. My name is Blaine. Me and two of my best buds, Billy and Baldwin, are going to spend a weekend at Billy's parents' cottage in the wooded area of Crystal Lake in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I know it's the same name as the setting from the Friday the 13th movies. I assume Crystal Lake, Michigan has been around long before the horror movie franchise. The weekend at the cottage is a graduation gift from Billy's parents to us. Me, Billy, and Baldwin have been close all through school. We were known as the Killer Bees, for obvious reasons based on our names, but we also bat 2, 3, and 4 on our high school baseball team. We've always played well on the field together. In fact, we're all going to give college ball a try. Billy and I got a scholarship to a Florida school with a great team. Baldwin fielded a couple minor league offers, but decided to go to a local college in Michigan. Billy has never been to the cottage. Kind of weird, but we were always busy with baseball during the summers, and it's too cold and snow-covered to do anything there in the winter. The day came, we were all packed and ready to go. You know the way, right? I asked Billy. Yeah, it's only a couple hours north of here. Hopefully GPS still works on our way up. Famous last words, I guess. As we got deeper into the woods, all reception was gone. All 3 of our cell phones might as well just be cameras now, as no internet worked. And of course, we couldn't make any calls or send texts. Luckily, there was a sign for a little convenience store about a mile back. We'll just have to stop, fuel up, and snack up, and confirm directions to the cottage. Ding ding. The first step through the store sent me very bad vibes. The door hit an actual bell to signal that customers had entered. I probably have not ever seen a real bell like that. It smells like turkey butt in here, Baldwin said. I gave him a look like, how would you know what that smells like? But I dropped it as the store clerk appeared out of nowhere, giving me a little jump. How can I help you, boys? The man that looked like he came off of a Rob Zombie movie set asked. All of us were frozen. Oh, right. I snapped out of it. We're staying at a cottage in Crystal Lake, just making sure that we're still on the right path. Ah, Crystal Lake, eh? The creepy man said. Yes, you boys are not far now. Have you ever been there? No, Billy said. It's my parents' place, and come to think of it, I don't even know the last time they went. Well, I have to just give you boys a word of warning. Do not go into the woods. At this point, I was sure the old man was just having some fun with us, seeing 3 high schoolers on the verge of becoming college boys. Okay, sure, I said. I assume the place is literally inside of an actual forest, so I don't know how that's possible. I didn't say that last part out loud, but it felt like the clerk heard me. You don't go into the woods. You park, you run to the house. You stay there until it's time to go home. And don't be fooled with the noises you hear. You don't want to get sucked into the wooded areas. There are leeches out there. Things that if they get attached to you, it's almost impossible to get them off. I finally gave the boys a look. Like, okay, let's freaking head out of here already. They both picked up on it, and we hit the door. Ding ding, the bell went. We all had a good nervous laugh and shook off the insane old man's BS attempt to scare us. About 30 minutes down the road, we came to the only stoplight during the entire trip, it seemed. We stopped at the red, continuing our conversation on who was the better hitter during our last big tournament, at which we won, of course. Baldwin, how are you even in this conversation? You went 0 for 4 and your pants fell down when you were diving for a foul ball, I said. And you didn't even catch it. Man, screw you, he said with a laugh. We pushed each other like this all the time. We knew it was just goofing. I don't know about you bros, but hitting a .365 with 4 homers in 4 games probably gets me the crown in that tourney, Billy said. I gotta admit, that was... Shh. Did you guys hear that? Billy and Baldwin hadn't heard a thing. It was a screaming noise. Like an animal, maybe? At this moment, I realized we were still at the stoplight. As I said that, the light turned green. The screaming was louder this time. Despite my begging Billy to stop, he kept driving. Someone or something could be hurt, I said. Billy wasn't having it. Neither was Baldwin. Dude, you heard what Mr. McCreeperson said. Don't go into the woods. There's leech things out there. I'm not afraid of leeches. I will deal with it. Stop the damn car. Someone needs help. Baldwin glanced to Billy, gave him a just do it look. I don't remember the next few moments too well. I know I darted into the woods. I know that neither of my friends followed me. I know that I heard something screaming bloody murder. As I made my way through the dense flora, I discovered the source of the screaming. A couple of coyotes, probably signaling to more that a wounded animal was nearby. I let out a gigantic sigh of relief. I really thought I was going to single-handedly prevent a murder or something. I made my way back to the tree line and back to my friends. Nothing to worry about, boys, just some animals. I checked myself up and down. Little peek into my undercarriage, no hidden atrocities leached onto you-know-what. And no leeches. Told you that man was full of it. Billy and Baldwin looked relieved. As much as I was, at least. Now we can get back to this little bender we're about to hit before we embark on our college experience. Everything was good. Billy's got the wheel, Baldwin looks happy riding shotgun, and me and, Frankie are chilling in the back. Revenge of the Dreaded Strangler by E. Starr. When wandering the city streets late at night, it is perhaps not such a bright idea to take any shortcuts down back alleys. For, you see, he is lurking around in the shadows somewhere. And he is always watching, always waiting for someone to come along and walk down those cracked cement pavements, waiting for someone like you. Dearest, pretty little you, with your perfectly straight, long black hair and your shiny little nose stud. You know, he's got a thing for girls like you. Girls with elegant curves and a thin, fragile neck. Alas, you have decided to take the shortcut. It's late after all, and you're eager to get home, and alas, little pretty one, you've let yourself be noticed. By him. And now? Well, now he's following you. He can't help himself, you're just so pretty. Anna was fuming. She had to work late, well into the night, and in doing so had missed the last bus home. Now she was flitting along the almost deserted streets. It would take nearly 30 minutes to get into her apartment, unless, of course, she took a few shortcuts. The first one was coming up, an alley that led to a back street just to her right. It went against her better judgment, especially with that purported serial killer on the loose, but there didn't seem to be anyone about, suspicious or otherwise. And she'd been down that way a good few times before, albeit during the daylight hours. There were a number of small, well-kept apartments, a quiet little neighborhood against the usual backdrop of a noisy and chaotic city. Considering these factors, Anna decided she'd risk it. What was the worst that could happen in an area like that? Besides, she had her handbag with her. She could give any potential assailant a good hard whack with it, if she needed to. And so, without any more hesitation, she set off down the alley. He's caught sight of you, sticking to the shadows so that you won't see him. He's creeping along behind you, down the alley. Oh dear, such a terribly foolish decision to make. He accidentally steps on some loose gravel. The crunching sound it makes under his foot grabs your attention. You quickly look around behind you. But you see nothing. Or was that a shadow you saw moving? But there's so many shadows and it's so awfully dark, it was probably just your imagination. Both the noise and the movement. You continue on your way, albeit a little more nervous than you were before. You poor dear. You've no idea what's about to happen to you. A noise from behind made Anna whisk around. She scanned the alley behind her but could see nothing but dark shadows. For a split second, she thought that she saw something or someone move, though she couldn't be sure. Anna stood still a few moments more, listening hard for anything else before nervously continuing down the alleyway. She was nearly to the end of the alley when she heard another noise. An aluminum can went rolling past her. Anna whipped around again and came face to face with a tall, hooded figure all clad in black. Much of the figure's features were distorted, shrouded in shadows. Anna could make out a ghostly pale white face, partially hidden by their hood. Their long black hair hung about them in dreadlocks. The two stood facing each other, Anna's chest about to explode in terror. Earlier brave notions of defending herself with her trusty handbag were all but gone. The voice in the back of her head was screaming frantically at her to run, but as Anna attempted to take a step back, the figure lurched forward and forcefully grabbed hold of her wrist. Oh, you poor, poor fool. What a silly girl you've been. No one will be able to save you. No one will hear your screams. He'll make sure of that. Anna tried to pull herself free again, but the figure gripped tighter. She began to struggle, desperately trying to escape that vice-like grip. She opened her mouth to scream, only for another hand to be clamped over it. In her bid to fight back, both Anna and her assailant fell to the ground. Anna managed to kick herself free, but as she tried to get to her feet and make a run for it, she felt something being pulled around her neck. He's got you now. You've played right into his hand without even knowing it. No point in fighting, my dear. Resistance, it's futile. He's managed to wrap those thick, heavy dreadlocks of his around that graceful neck of yours, and so now he feels the blood rush through his veins as you struggle to stay alive. But your struggle is pointless. He is much stronger than you are. You won't survive, and he can yet again fulfill his duty to me. Anna struggled against the ligatures around her neck, tried to pull them away. As the moments passed, she could feel her throat begin to tighten. She began to feel lightheaded as she panicked and floundered around, helpless and hopeless. Quite soon, her airflow was all but gone, and as she took her last breath, her attacker whispered into her ear, "Mommy's going to be so proud of me." "Yes, dear, I will be. You've learned well from your father's mistakes." Buzzing Ears by Creepypasta Nerd 2002 from the Creepypasta Wiki. As I was searching for a new song to listen to, I heard something very strange. It kind of sounded like a fly, but it didn't come from anywhere else in the room. It seemed to come from the space between my ears and my headset's ears. Naturally, it startled me, making me yank the headset off my head and shake my head vigorously. When I regained control of myself, I looked inside the headset ear that I heard the sound from. As expected, there was no fly. I just thought nothing of it at that point, at first, and just went on with my day as usual. A few weeks later, at my checkup, my doctor told me that they had found something rather disturbing. They said that a small fly had somehow gotten onto my brain. I laughed at them, thinking it was some sort of silly prank when they showed me the x-rays. However, my smile got swept away. They were right. Right at the top of my brain sat the small fly that they had found. They told me not to worry too much about it, as it didn't show any signs of causing serious harm to my brain. I said I wouldn't, but when I left the hospital with the photos, it was the only thing on my mind. I had strange dreams about it. Not nightmares, but just weird dreams where the fly, about my size, just sat there. Not buzzing, not moving, it was just staring at me. When I told my family and friends about it, most of them told me not to let it get to me, just like the doctors had told me. Some of my friends, however, told me they had similar experiences with hearing flies from their headphones. Finally, one day, after making sure that it couldn't be explained by officials, I decided to get to the bottom of it myself. I downloaded a sound image app on my phone. I opened it, put on my headphones, and began recording. Nothing happened for the first minute. I decided to kill the awkward silence with a hum. After another minute, I was still humming. Or at least I thought I was. Another minute, still humming. Another, and another, and another, just... I was curious as to how talented I was at humming for so long. I didn't think it was even possible. Then, when I got annoyed with it, I stopped myself. Something frightening happened. While I was quiet, the humming kept going. I thought it was the app, so I tried to adjust the volume. When I did that, the humming sound got clearer and clearer until I realized it wasn't a humming. It was a buzzing. My eyes were wide, and I was looking almost everywhere. For a few seconds, I saw that the app had drawn what looked like the very same fly. It was at that point that I realized the buzzing wasn't coming from the phone. It was coming from the exact same spot, between my ear and the headset ear, that I remembered from that day around a month ago. This time, I didn't flinch. I slowly took off the headset and peeked inside. The fly from the picture was in there. I was surprised, but I didn't flinch. Like most occurrences with bugs, it wasn't attacking me. In fact, it wouldn't even come out of the ear of my headphone. At least not until I put it in a jar. After freeing the fly in my backyard, I started to feel better. At my next checkup, when the doctors told me that the fly was gone, a tsunami of relief splashed over me. I was so glad that I was going to be okay. I was free of it. There were no more flies in me. The next day after school and homework, I tended to my garden. Everything was going just fine when I heard buzzing. It was just annoying to start. It followed me around for the minute, and then I heard something that was just as close as the buzzing. "Thanks for the blood, kid," said a lowish voice. "No need to thank me for mine." I stopped dead in my tracks, shocked at the realization of what the voice had meant. I turned to my left, and sure enough, there it was. The exact same fly from the picture. Except this time, it was the same size as me, just like in my dream. As it slowly started to glide itself away from me, I pulled out my phone and recorded a video of the fly. I followed it to make sure the camera got as much footage as possible before the fly disappeared into the trees. I've barely slept for weeks, almost months now. Most of my family and friends, except for the few who have had similar experiences, think that I'm crazy. I know I'm not. I've heard it, and I have video proof, but I'm too scared to share the footage, knowing how likely most people would rule it out as movie effects or whatever. But the most frightening part to me is that every day since I last saw that fly, the world, it started to look so much bigger to me. Or is it me getting smaller? Can you still hear my voice? Help. Help. Somebody? Anybody? Help me. Contentment by Hayleigh J. Curtis stood outside the small brick home, his mind racing. The anticipation was killing him. He watched as one by one the lights flicked off and the darkness of the night filled the structure before him. Biting his bottom lip, he reminded himself that he must be patient. This sort of thing, it could not be rushed. No, he had to wait until the time was right. Give her a bit to do her routine and get settled into bed, he thought. Then, and only then, would he make his entrance. As Curtis waited, he allowed his mind to wander. Images of the previous ones that he had taken came to him. They had all been so beautiful, but one stuck out amongst the rest. She'd been a lean brunette with a fiery disposition. Oh, how she had fought against him. Those like her were his favorite. He loathed the ones who wept and pleaded as he towered over them. They were weak in his eyes and brought misery upon themselves by being so. However, despite that, his passion was not derived from the desire to punish others, but rather one for true intimacy. To him, well, the act of taking a life was one of the most intimate things one could do. Copulation failed in comparison to it, as, over time, it had become devoid of the deeper meaning it once held. Refocusing on the mission at hand, he began to make his way to the house. Once at the front door, he decided to try his luck by giving the knob a shake. Much to his surprise, he found it unlocked. The oddity of such a thing was not lost on him. Anxiety began to build in his chest, and he considered vacating the premises, but his yearning for her kept his feet rooted in place. Swallowing his uneasiness, he slowly pushed the door open, a soft thud breaking the silence as it came to rest against the wall. Cautiously, he ventured into the pitch-black living room and immediately regretted doing so. A bulb abruptly clicked to life, illuminating the room, causing him to flinch. There she stood, next to an end table, her hand still grasping the dainty chain of the lamp that sat upon it. His eyes met hers, and what he saw, it chilled him. No fear resided in them. Instead, there was excitement. "I've been waiting for you," she said with a grin, her voice rich like honey. Curtis turned swiftly to make his escape, but before he could take a step, her arms enveloped him. With strength twice that of his, she held him in place and pressed her lips against his neck, kissing it tenderly before sinking her teeth in deep. Crying out in shock, his body tensed against hers. The pain that came brought with it a terrible heat. He listened as she took in mouthful after mouthful of blood, delicate moans departing her lips as she did so. The sound of her pleasure brought a sense of calm to him, even as his vision began to dim. This, he realized, was what he had been searching for. This was that true intimacy. The PS1 Conspiracy Theory by DreamBean. I once was a kid full of excitement. Every time at school, I would be really excited for recess, but I think there's some better stuff to do at home. I was just watching TV until an ad for the PS1 aired. I was so excited to get one. I always wanted one since I was a kid. I asked my mother if she could buy one, and she agreed. So we went to Toys R Us. They had a full section of PS1s. My mom decided to get one for me. Ever since then, I played with my PS1 day and night. But one day, it all changed. Me and my family got 5 games for the PS1. Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Parappa, Rayman, and one game that I don't remember. I played all 5 of them one by one. It felt like a dream come true, but one day, I played Rayman, and I knew that it would change my life forever. While I was playing the game, it stopped accepting my controls. I thought the game had a bug in it until Rayman started glitching out and screaming. All of his limbs started to fall off as he screamed in pain. The screen started flashing until it eventually cut to black. A giant face of Rayman appeared, but it looked creepy. He had black eyes, blood coming out of his mouth, and no hair. He silently said, "You have violated the law of Sony's guidelines. You must face the consequences, because we will find you." As the Rayman face slowly faded, I was traumatized by that day. I told my mom I didn't want to go to school because of what I witnessed. So my mom destroyed my PS1 and tried to get the game out of it. The PS1 started shaking, and the giant head of Rayman came out. It screamed as loudly as it could, and it slowly became bigger by the second. It was zooming at us at a hyper speed, and then it hit the town as a giant explosion happened. I don't remember what happened next because it was all a mystery. So that was a collection of 5 fairly short creepypasta-style fiction horror stories, however you want to call it. I just use the word creepypasta because it's the most commonly used word for horror fiction nowadays, especially whenever it's in short form. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I haven't done one of these in a very long time, it feels like, so, hopefully this one worked out for you. Most of these were submitted to me directly, so if you have one you want to submit my way, you can do so at astheravendreams.com/submit, or just email it to me, astheravendreams@gmail.com or astheravendreams@outlook.com. It's all acceptable. I don't care how you do it. Just get me the story. I'd love to read it. Anyways, if y'all did enjoy it, please do hit that thumbs up button and hit that subscribe button, the bell icon next to it. You can also follow me on all my social media platforms. There are plenty to follow me on. Just follow me. I do random stuff. I say things in word form, text format, whatever. You can also support the channel through Patreon, Coffee, or channel memberships. All of it optional, all of it greatly appreciated. Patrons and channel members get early access to my content so long as I'm ahead, which I hope to be here very soon, like next week soon. Don't ask questions, it's just been a bleh. I've tried to take some time off for myself, and I got behind, and yeah, it's how it happens. Anyway, All that said, my lovely, 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 lovely friends, I hope you're having a lovely day, and I hope I'll see you on the next video. But until then, sleep well.